There is something so satisfying about gazing into the night sky at all the magnificent stars and the illuminated moon. If you happen to live far from the city or can find a country road, the sky suddenly turns into a mesmerizing scene well worth photographing. The moon is a popular subject for photographs, but something simple can also be challenging to shoot. If you're interested in taking photographs of the moon, it is essential to take note of the following tips. These tips act as guidelines to help you capture the moon's beauty and detail better. Arm yourself with the proper equipment. Unfortunately, you cannot just whip out a smartphone and take a clear photograph of the moon. Even the latest models, like the iPhone 13 Pro, fail to capture the detail or the magnitude of the object. If you want a photo that isn't a white and blurry blob, you'll need professional equipment. Step 1. You need a professional camera. The first and obvious thing you'll need is a camera. Most modern interchangeable lens cameras can do the trick, although a compact camera with optical zoom can work too. We've even seen people have success with the older generation compact cameras that boasted a 14 times optical zoom. Step 2. Get a long zoom lens. When selecting a lens to shoot with, you'll want to pick one with a high magnification range as possible. The range or focal length is the number of the lens, like 14 to 35mm or 24 to 300mm. In this case, the 300mm will serve the purpose better than a 35mm. Ideal focal length ranges are 400mm, 500mm, or greater. If you only have a 100mm or 200mm lens, you could attach a teleconverter to increase the likelihood of getting a stellar photo. Step 3. Invest in a steady tripod. Regardless of the camera or lens, you will need to invest in a sturdy tripod to avoid a blurry image. As the Earth spins, the position of the moon changes. This isn't noticeable to the human eye, but something the camera will surely pick up. Furthermore, a remote camera trigger will mean you don't need to touch the camera when taking the photo. This slight shake from your hands on the shutter can also result in a less than perfect image. Step 4. Lower your ISO settings. Get the settings correct. We recommend shooting in a full manual mode to give yourself ultimate control over the end result. Go ahead and change the ISO, the sensitivity or measure of the camera's ability to capture light, to the lowest settings. For most cameras, this is typically 100. Remember to check that the auto ISO is off. A low ISO setting captures less light. We don't want other light sources interfering with the subject. Step 5. Close your aperture. Next, we want to lower the aperture to decrease the amount of light coming through the lens. An aperture of around f11 should be a safe bet. A small depth of field is created when we lower the aperture. This makes a sharper subject of the moon. If you're looking to include other objects in the background, they will appear blurry. This is why you'll need to take multiple images with adjusted settings and composite them together. Step 6. Correct shutter speed. The last thing to change is shutter speed. We want the sharpest image of the moon as possible. Essentially, we want to allow the least amount of light in and create a sharp, not overexposed image of the moon. Set the shutter speed between 1/25th to 1/250th of a second, depending on your camera model. Try to use a remote camera trigger to reduce camera shake, and choose the right time. Step 7. This one's an essential one. Plan according to local weather. When it comes to photographing the moon, some nights are better than others. It is best to research before the time on how the weather and conditions will be. You can take photos of the moon at any time, day or night. Ideally, you want good visibility, low humidity, and no smog and/or air pollution. If you're looking to capture the moon at its fullest, you should consult a lunar calendar. You could also look into taking photos of the blood moon, lunar eclipse, or solar eclipse. Step 8. Find the perfect location. For this, we recommend planning ahead by picking out a clear spot the night before. It could be an exciting addition to include a foreground, something like a few small trees, or the horizon into the shot. You should also have a rough idea as to which path the moon travels along. Remember to be flexible and plan to relocate when necessary. So, are you ready to capture the moon in all of its glory? As somebody who has always been interested in astronomy, photographing the night sky has become a favorite pastime. I eagerly await each month for the time when the moon is at its fullest, an enlarged, round, glowing ball of energy and amazement. Despite its presence gracing our skies each night, it still remains fascinating to see and challenging to photograph. Now go out there and capture the moon. Seize the night or day. We hope this guide leaves no questions unanswered.